Welcome back, adventurers, to another episode of Let's Play ChäoS. In the last episode, Mamoru Suwa was busy investigating information on Takumi Nishijo at the ANG Hospital, which you can see right here, or AH General Hospital, sorry. Got myself confused there, but he was trying to get confidential information from Nurse Hazuki, since Dr. Takashino is no longer in this world. But looks like patient confidentiality wins out in this instance. Speaking of Takumi, he was observing the news cycle of the Shibuya earthquake that had happened. The earthquake, which, well, actually has very unnatural circumstances behind it. Although people have their own speculations, I doubt any of them are going to get close enough to the truth of the matter. But meanwhile, we're back here at AH General Hospital. Near the off-hours entrance to AH General Hospital, there was an area where ambulances could pull up alongside the building and deliver emergency patients, because there were a lot of injuries. Now, two ambulances were parked there, and the ambulance crew members attempted to carry people who had been wounded in the earthquake to the hospital. A doctor in pale green surgery scrubs and a middle-aged head nurse yelled while instructing them on how to come in. Yeah, things have gotten pretty chaotic. A number of patients awaiting treatment had already sat down in the area around the off-hours entrance, demonstrating that the doctors were having trouble getting to everyone, considering how short-staffed they are. The patients being borne in could be divided into roughly two groups. Those with external wounds had blood flowing from their arms or foreheads, and their faces were screwed up in agony. It was painful to look at them, but their examinations have been postponed. That's rather unfortunate. They must have actually suffered the physical aspect of the earthquake. However, they're not the only types of victims. The ones who have been prioritized for admittance were the unconscious patients who had no external wounds whatsoever. Because as with Takumi Nishijo, everyone else experienced something other than the earthquake. A bizarre form of psychological attack that pretty much all but crippled them, and many people unfortunately died as a result. This baffling symptom was awfully common among the emergency patients who have been brought here as a result of the earthquake. Oh, it's no symptom. Trust me, it's no symptom. It was a phenomenon that hadn't been witnessed in previous large earthquakes. Yeah, funny that, again, you'll hear me say that phrase a lot in these circumstances. And the doctors had yet to determine their reason for their unconsciousness, maybe because they are psychologically overwhelmed and exhausted. And more ambulances on the way. Another ambulance arrived on the scene, blaring its shrill siren. Yeah, their workload is definitely piling up. When the doctor asked about the patient's symptoms, the worker who descended from the ambulance yelled. He gave no other explanation. This is probably a very important patient. Normally this would have driven the doctor to complain. In a situation as jumbled as this, if someone said top priority to you without any explanation, it would be ordinary to answer, "Are you making fun of me?" Considering the fact that this entire incident is top priority. Unexpectedly, however, both the doctor and the head nurse nodded at once. They helped bring the stretcher down from the ambulance. That suggests to me that they know who the patient is. Ayase Kishimoto lay on the stretcher as though sleeping. Unconscious, she groaned faintly. Hmm. Well, we already knew that the rumors behind her being at a psychiatric ward were true, but this absolutely confirms it. Unconcerned by the hateful stares of the externally wounded patients seated all around, the doctor and the ambulance crew hastened to carry the stretcher inside the hospital. But that begs the question, why is Ayase Kishimoto, aka Affairs of Phantasm, a top priority at AH General Hospital? The mind boggles. And she's not alone. A girl watched this unfold from a short distance away. She stood at the hospital's main entrance. Rimi Sakihata bit her lip and furrowed her eyebrows, a strained expression on her face. Odd that she'd be here, but maybe she's acquainted with Ayase. It'll be an interesting thought if that were the case.
岸本さん
So I was right. She has some sort of connection to Ayase. Unfortunately, given the fact that she's at the hospital, means that she won't be around to help Takumi when he's dealing with his own problems, such as the return of Shogun. The earthquake concerned me, but I was even more preoccupied with thoughts of Shogun. Though my migraine had mostly gone away, anxiety continued to dominate my head, and being alone made me grow more and more depressed. Unfortunately, Rimi can only look after one person at a time, and yet to receive any form of contact from Rimi would do to actually explain to him the situation, though. It is very odd. I tried calling her, but I got a voicemail again. Even though up until now, Rimi had invariably come sailing to me wherever I was, and reassured me, saying it'll be okay. Unfortunately, she has two people to deal with, you and Ayase, and as I just said, she can't be in two places at once. Why wouldn't she come for me today? Hadn't she told me she would always stay with me? I ground my teeth and immersed myself in redoing my PC settings to elude my insecurity. I'd start by fixing my email configuration from the ground up, starting from scratch. Since I hadn't touched it since I first tweaked the settings, I didn't remember how I liked to have everything rearranged or arranged. I had to begin by finding the instructions for my email software in IESP. Before I knew it, I was damp with sweat, though it didn't involve a huge amount of labor. Many times midway through, I wanted to throw it away and all away in irritation. Even so, an hour later, 30 minutes of which was spent searching for the manual, I'd finally restored email service to myself. I immediately checked my mail. Are we going to like what we find?
メールだよボケナス
Looks like we got mail. I'd finally been able to hear her voice. It was a real relief to listen to her. I felt like it had all been worthwhile. I had 8 new items in my inbox. Pretty much all of them were spam, obviously. Mixed in with the spam. Yeah, don't think I didn't see that, adventurers. I noticed. There was a mail with a subject line and a sender that caught my attention. Third from the top. Whose eyes are those eyes? And the sender is Nanami. How many Nanamis are we familiar with? Just one. I groaned without thinking. What was this? Was Nanami pulling my leg? It might be a prank, it might be spam, but we have no choice but to check into it. If so, that'd make her the lowest of the low. I'm gonna beat her to death. No, wait a second. Nanami couldn't have emailed me here. She never sent mail to my PC address in the past. So why now? A little earlier even, she'd mailed my cell phone. I hadn't told her my PC email address in the first place. Which means that somebody is definitely throwing us for a loop. I'm getting a bad feeling about this. The convergence of multiple coincidences? Had it just sort of happened? I doubt this is coincidence. Nanami was quite a common name, but we can't discount this reality. Even the phrase "whose eyes are those eyes" were incredibly popular now. You'd see it getting used all over the place. There was nothing weird about it getting used as the title of a spam email, but the two together? How often is that gonna happen? For the time being, I decided to read the contents.
結構な長文だな。
A large file-sized email.
さっきはチャットで話ができて楽しかったよ。ちなみに送信者の名前はダミー。
Yeah, we kind of figured as much.
僕の名前は将軍だよ。
Oh dear. Oh, he said he was going to send us a present. Looks like this email is it. Shogun, you mean?
将軍が僕のメアド知ってるはずが。
Oh, he does. But what if Shogun were recording my thoughts? Extracting my email address might be easy as pie for him.
嘘でしょ。
Even if it is, we need to delve further into the truth. What is this? I'm so glad Ayase was rescued. I thought perhaps I'd use her as the victim in my new next-gen creation, but suicide is fine too. But how very like you, Takumi-kun, to hit a new high score. You've left me in awe. You truly are special. Oh dear. It seems that Shogun knows all too well what happened with the flower bed at Suume Academy. Does this mean that Shogun is admitting to being the new gen criminal this whole time? Rather odd of him to be so very blatant and forthcoming at this stage. As I read the whole message, its intimate tone became conversely terrifying. Next up is Nishijo Nanami-chan. Oh god. Yeah, she's on the list. Hence the alias. It'd be nice to see a dramatic development involving siblings, but thanks to the earthquake, Shibuya is currently in a rather brutal state. It's up to you whether or not you'll be able to reach a conclusion so touching as to send all that flying away. Hasn't it started becoming a bit troublesome to set off on quests unarmed? You're a hero, so don't you want to get your hands on Hero's sword? Please look forward to it. So Nanami is in danger, but even more telling is that last sentence. Not only does Shogun know about the D-swords, but remember where we first encountered Shogun? In the chat room of Ensu and Bazalad. In other words, yeah. Looks like Takumi is going to have to be the lightning fast Neidhart in real life. He's crazy. Oh god. And when he said like things like quest and high score, he almost made it sound like a game. Let's start the Nanami-chan rescue quest. I'd like you to come to the roof of O Front at 9 o'clock tonight. I'm planning to get you on TV, so be sure to look properly heroic. P.S. On a side note, have you accepted my present? I'm not liking the sound of this.
僕が勇者なんかじゃない。ナイトハルトじゃない。
Indeed. But unless we find a way to bring Neidhart from the 2D world into the 3D world, we're up the creek. I get murdered right off the bat. Unless we somehow miraculously manage to get our hands on the elusive D-Sword, we are pretty much screwed. I want to run away. I want to run away. Unfortunately, this is not the time to be Shinji Ikari from Neon Genesis Evangelion. Rimi. I had to get Rimi to protect me. Except that Rimi is, unbeknownst to Takumi, looking after Ayase over at the hospital. Why wouldn't she contact me? Had she gotten injured in the earthquake? But Mizumi-kun hadn't said a thing about it when I saw him. In other words, Rimi didn't tell him about visiting the hospital. I took my phone in hand and looked to see if any calls or messages had arrived from Rimi.
来てない。
Where the heck was she? I had to start. My phone email box. At the very top was displayed the mail from Nanami that had reached me shortly before. Nanami. Was she okay? Now you realize that she too might have had the same psychological trauma that you did. Just like everyone else. I reread the message from Shogun one more time, from the start. Now next up is Nanami Nishijo. Let's start the Nanami-chan rescue quest. What does this mean? I think you know very well. For now, better try calling Nanami. I opened my phone's address book. There are only 3 recorded numbers. Home, Rimi's cell, and Nanami's cell. Every single time we came across each other, Nanami had nagged at me to call her. Of all the times to do it first, there was no helping it, so this time I'd call her for once. So be good about it and pick up. If you don't, I'll never call you again. I won't let you make excuses like something about you getting hurt and trapped in place during the earthquake. Although I doubt that will be an excuse. I pulled up Nanami's number and pressed the send button. I put the phone to my ear. No response. The calling sound wouldn't start ringing. That is an ill omen. I knew it tended to take a little time like this when you made calls with the cell phone. But right now that soundless time seemed to last forever, making me horribly irritated.
早くしてよ。よし、繋がった。
And it's ringing. Oh no. Oh, I got a pit of my stomach. You hear that sound? I hear that sound. That sound is bad. That sound is terrible. This sound, or was it? It's a ringtone. I experimented with taking my cell phone away from my ear. An unfamiliar melody resonated throughout the room. Could it be a phone's ringtone? That it is. Whose phone was ringing? Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Well, on that question, on this cliffhanger, this is the end of this episode of Let's Play ChäoS Head. And when we return, you all know the drill by now. It's panic time. As always, adventurers, until next we meet.